You heard about Project Rudy? So Project Rudy is a proposed super league, a college football super league that would put the top, yeah, the top 70 teams together with private equity. And basically it would start their own NCAA for college football. Be NFL next, NFL light, whatever, NFL mini, whatever you want to say. 70 teams in the Super League, all combining their TV rights, etc., to make it all work out that everybody makes money and that the hangers on they view as the hangers on, which really at 70 teams, I don't know how many teams you're weeding out from the hangers on. For instance, like I've said before on the show, the Ohio States, Alabamas, Notre Dame's, Texas's, Clemson's of the world view the Purdue's and Mississippi State's and Syracuse's of the world as hangers on, as like, hey, you guys make a lot of money because people watch me. People watch what I do. And at the end of the day, is it worth having that fight and having that battle? No. So they don't, but they know. And those other schools, by the way, the Wake Forests of the world, know their pecking order in that hierarchy. But in a 70 team super league, you put everybody together and you start this kind of revenue distribution system, etc. The ACC programs think this is the greatest idea in the history of planet Earth. Dan Radakovich, the Miami athletic director, was like on the record is like, this is spectacular, awesome. I couldn't love this idea any more than I do. Well, yeah, duh. Of course you do. Because right now you're making pennies on the dollar compared to the SEC and the Big Ten. So to get you on an even playing field, yes, of course, absolutely, unequivocally, would be a very good thing for the ACC and to a slightly lesser extent the Big 12. So of course, the ACC likes this idea. But I'm here to tell you that this proposed deal is like the Aaron's Rent-A-Center of college football, because essentially what they're saying is like, hey, it's a $9 billion deal for everybody who wants to be involved, and all we're going to do is borrow $5.2 billion against our future earnings in media rights deals, so you all can buy each other, so you all can buy out the group of five FCS games that are on your schedules, so we can just play between us. Now I saw somebody argue that, like, well, that's what makes college football great is group of five versus power five or FCS versus power five. And in like some moments, yes, that is the case. Right? Appalachian State blocking that Michigan field goal and returning it almost all the way for a touchdown stands out as one of the like bigger, greater plays in college football history since 2000. And you don't get that unless there's an FCS game versus a Power Five, or Notre Dame beating, or I beg your pardon, Navy beating Notre Dame, roughly probably the same time frame. You don't get that unless those two schools are going to be playing each other. But for the most part, to tell you the truth, if college football got away from the if the SEC got away from the FCS game the week before Thanksgiving, or if the Big Ten got away from playing 2 games in the non-conference against a MAC school and then a Power 5. If we got away from that, is it really the end of the world? And believe me, I understand the idea of I generally I don't care that, Ball State goes to play Oklahoma. They get $1.8 million. I'm like, "Hey, we got a softball team this year." I don't know that that's, Oklahoma's worry, or should be Oklahoma's worry, if Ball State or insert whatever group of five school here can't afford whatever insert Olympic sport here. They can afford to have that sport. I don't know that it's a Power 4 school's job to ensure that you do that. Like, it is a dog eat dog world. It is a business masquerading as a sport. College athletics, especially at that level, business masquerading as a sport. So why am I subsidizing other schools' businesses? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So would I be all that sad if Power 5 versus Group of 5 went away? No, not especially. Like, what do I wish? Like, are there rivalries or games that happen that I wish would still happen? Yeah. Yeah, I do. And would I wish that it's maybe limited to one game rather than no games? I could be talked into that, absolutely. But you look at some non-conference schedules and they're not good. In fact, they're really bad, borderline pathetic in a lot of places. And when you only get 12 Saturdays to enjoy college football, throwing away 3 of them on games that don't get you excited to either go to the stadium or watch on TV, I don't have a problem with doing away with those. So that's neither here nor there. But this Project Rudy, they plan on borrowing $5.2 billion from themselves later on down the line, so you all can get out of your games against the Tulsas and the Tulanes of the world. So instead, you can play Georgia and Florida and Penn State and Michigan State of the world. I can get on board with that until you recognize, like, that bill is going to come due. $5.2 billion is a boatload of money. It is a lot of money that you are not going to get later on down the line because you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. Like, you are spending $99 a week for that TV, baby, and you end up paying $3,800 for it. That's not a great idea. But when you start throwing big flashy numbers at people that are solely focused on how do I make my numbers bigger and flashier, that matters. The details, well, who cares about details when there are billions of dollars to be? Nobody in America, in any business, economics, finance, whatever, is going to get fired for increasing their revenue by billions of dollars. Not one person. Even if that bill comes due later and you're like, "Hey, wait a second, did you guys, like, did you borrow money from us later on down the line to pay?" "Yeah, I did. But hey, made a lot of money." Well, that's all that matters. Nobody cares. So overall, is Project like, could I are there aspects of Project Rudy, the college football super league, that I can get on board with? Yeah, sure. Until you start thinking like, well, wait a second. One, if the idea is to weed out the coattail riders, are we doing that with 70 teams? And then two, when you're saying, hey, this is a $9 billion deal, but oh, by the way, we're going to borrow $5 billion of it right now, that would make me somewhat weary of what the future holds. And when you already can't get 14 teams to pull in the same direction on some things, or 16 teams or 18 teams to pull in the same direction on some things, I don't know that it's going to get any better when you add 70. But that's just my take. Want to hear from you in the comments down below. Drop them. Want to read them. Let us hear them. That'll do it for today's episode of the Daily Huddle. Appreciate you making us a part of your day, however it is, wherever it is you're doing so. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're getting all the great college football content we are pumping out. If you are listening on the podcast feed, drop a 5-star review. Goes a long way in helping out the channel. See you tomorrow for another episode of the Daily Huddle.